The Softube TLA-100 tube leveling amplifier is a digital model of the Summit Audio analog hardware compressor. This software is a plugin to be used inside of a DAW and comes in VST, VST3, audio units, AAX native, AAX DSP, and RTAS plugin formats. I'm going to demonstrate the sound features and controls of this plugin by processing an acoustic guitar track. Let me begin by bypassing the plugin so you can hear how the acoustic guitar sounds without the compressor doing any processing. Next, let me activate the plugin and go through the features and controls. At first glance, the TLA-100 seems to resemble the very popular LA-2A style compressor. The LA-2A is very popular for being used on vocals, bass guitar, electric guitar, and in some cases, even acoustic guitar. Anyone that's used an LA-2A, the features of the TLA-100 are going to seem very intuitive. On the right, you have a big knob that's used as gain reduction, and this is where you're doing the compression. Then the big knob on the left is your makeup gain for all the compression that you're doing in the signal. So just to begin with, I've got the plugin on its initial settings. I'm just going to increase the gain reduction so you can hear how it sounds. So you can hear the compressor is very smooth, and I can even do a lot of gain reduction without the compressor starting to sound a little bit weird or have any kind of artifacts creeping in. So Softube has done a great job with their modeling, and one of the complaints that people have with digital emulations of compressors is a lot of times you can't do a lot of gain reduction. You can maybe only do at most maybe 3 to 5 dB of gain reduction. But with this model, you can even do closer to 7 to 10 dB, and it doesn't even sound very weird or pulsing as a compressor. So I'm going to bring this up to a level I think that I like for this acoustic guitar, just to smooth the overall level out, and then use a little makeup gain so that it brings it back to the correct level. So hopefully you can hear that what the compressor has done is it just brought out the sustain and really smoothed out the level of the signal. And this is just how it sounds in its initial settings. So where the TLA-100 starts to get a little bit more versatile than just your normal LA-2A style compressor is that you have control over the attack and release. These are not controls that you find on an LA-2A. And so that's why most people wouldn't, when they think about doing compression for drums or very percussive kinds of instruments, you wouldn't reach for the LA-2A. But the TLA-100, because you have control over attack and release, you might find that it's useful for doing things like your drum bus or even across your full mix. So what I'll do is switch it now over to fast attack, fast release. This might be a setting that you want to use for percussive elements, maybe drums, or even in this case, the acoustic guitar, if you want to take off the transient of your signal. So I'll start out with the gain reduction down and show you what happens with fast attack, fast release, how the compressor is really just taking off the transient of the signal and smoothing out the sustain again. Alright, on the flip side, you can switch over and have a slow attack, slow release. What this is going to do is let the transient of the signal pass through, in this case the initial strum of the acoustic guitar, to pass through the compressor, but then the detector in the compressor is going to cause there to be gain reduction that's going on over the sustain or tail of the signal. So I'll start out again with 0 gain reduction and bring it back in. So hopefully you're able to hear that's a little bit sharper of a flavor that the compressor is doing because the transients are now emphasized. That might be something you want to use with an acoustic guitar, but you might not want to also, depending on your song. I'm going to go back ahead and switch back to the initial attack setting. I like that. I should mention though that you can mix and match these however you want. You want to have a fast attack, slow release, or fast release and slow attack. You can do all those things. I'm going to switch over to fast release. Find a setting that I like just for this acoustic guitar. The next setting I want to discuss is to move down here and look at this low cut. Now you can use the low cut internally in the plugin to act as a side chain and basically have the signal of the acoustic guitar be feeding the compressor as a side chain and then only filter out the low frequencies of the acoustic guitar for the side chain, but not affect the actual signal that's coming out of the plugin. So up here you see the sidechain internal. You can also, for the plugin, switch to external if you have a key input, if you'd like to do that. But I'm going to go ahead and now show you what happens with the acoustic guitar. There's not a lot of low frequency, but when I bring up the low cut to 600, it's going to cut out frequencies below 600, and then you can see the kind of difference on the gain reduction meter. So the gain reduction was decreased when I was filtering out some of the signal. You can also use it to actually process the signal that's passing through. But I'm just going to switch it over to detector. Then you have over here a saturation knob. This is not something you'd see on a typical compressor. And what Softube has done is basically modeled some analog color, analog flavor, saturation, extra harmonics that you can bring into the signal. You can pull it out on clean and remove them, or you can increase it on high, going beyond what a typical hardware compressor would do. So that's just another way to add in a little bit of that extra analog color, analog texture to your signal. You don't want to mix it in too much because then it starts to sound bad, but just a little bit goes a long way. Finally, there's a parallel inject if you want to do parallel compression inside of the plugin, and that's wet is a fully compressed signal, then dry is without any compression going on. You can blend between the two of them. No compression. That's all the controls of the plugin. This compressor sounds awesome. It's very smooth, very transparent, but at times can be used on so many different kinds of instruments, from drums to acoustic guitar to vocals. It's basically great for anything in your mix.